Welcome to another episode of Tech Talk brought to you by Konecranes. Our company operates in over 50 countries around the world and has nearly 17,000 employees that are committed to providing you with lifting equipment and services. Our goal with this podcast is to provide our technicians with a platform to share their experiences and insights into how our products are used, while also discussing what makes being a technician at Konecranes exciting. I'm your host, Isaiah, and I'm here with my partner, Tanya. How are you doing today, Tanya?
I'm very good, thank you. And I'm very excited to welcome our first guest today. His name is Alex Coffey, and he is a crane specialist from Western Australia. So let's give a warm welcome to Alex.
Hey, how are you going? Thanks for having me.
Very good. Thank you, Alex, for joining us today.
Yes, Alex.
No worries.
Such a pleasure for you to join us.
Of course.
Shall we dive straight in? Could you give us just a short introduction about yourself and what brought you into the world of cranes?
Yeah, sure. I'm Alex. I'm a specialist from Western Australia, based in Western Australia, and I've been working for Konecranes for coming up to 15 years now. I got into the business because a friend of mine who was working for Konecranes at the time used to call me and tell me how much he liked his job, and eventually convinced me to take an interview. I'm Irish, if you can't tell by my accent. I was living in Ireland at the time, and I took an interview, a phone interview with HR in Australia, and 1 month later I was living in Australia, trying to figure out what a crane was and how to fix them. So yeah, since then I've been in a few different roles. Started as a service technician, and in 2019 moved into a specialist role, which involves like starting up like advanced equipment and special commissionings and stuff like that. So yeah.
Excellent. Nice. So I assume after all these years, you must like your job. And Australia, of course.
Yeah, I love my job. It's my day to day is different every day. My role has me, I could be anywhere in the country, and over the last couple of years, I've been lucky enough to be overseas as well, looking after some projects in New Zealand and visiting New Caledonia and Malaysia. Next week, I'm in Indonesia for some training. So yeah, it's a good old role.
Yeah,
wow, that sounds super exciting, right? Isaiah?
Yeah, super exciting. I would love to touch on the training, but I would like to know, where are you now? Weren't you just working on a project recently?
Yeah, so I just flew back last night. I was working on a project. Initially, I went to Malaysia at the end of last year to carry out the factory acceptance test of a crane. We now utilize Malaysia to build some of our really big cranes because of the location of it, their proximity to Australia. So I went to FAT that crane last year, and the crane got shipped to Fremantle in Perth, and then made its way to 7 hours east to a town called Kalgoorlie. And yeah, over the last couple of weeks we installed it, and last week we commissioned it on night shift. So that was quite interesting, commissioning a crane that big on a project that big in the middle of the night. Load tests involved, 100-ton load tests, and yeah, it's been very interesting.
Yeah. Off camera, we pulled up a photo. This crane is huge, right?
Yeah. This is it's a 100-ton crane with a 20-ton auxiliary hoist, which is on a monorail on the side of the crane. But what makes this crane so big is the span is like 40 meters, so that's a pretty big span for a pretty big capacity. So you can't just walk around on this crane. You have to climb up ladders and climb down ladders. It's an interesting beast.
Wow. Yeah. And
interesting. Yeah.
You also said that it was something that you had to do at 3 a.m. I think that's a great testimony to no day is the same.
Yeah. It's it was quite interesting to have to do the commissioning at night, but the project that we were working on was so busy that the only way they could facilitate us to do such high capacity load tests was to do it at nighttime. So freezing cold at 3 o'clock in the morning. At one point, I was stuck on the crane in a rainstorm. It was interesting.
Wow.
Mm.
What is the application of that crane? I mean, 100-ton, what is it going to lift?
That crane is it's in the mining sector, and that will be used for overhauling these mills for this gold mine. So and they're actually utilizing the crane to actually build part of the plant at the moment. So initially, it'll get utilized to build the plant that it's going to be maintaining underneath it.
All right.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, that is one application. What other applications or industries do you usually come across in your job?
Yeah, so waste energy is one that I've been working with for the last 5 years. I was on a project began in 2020, where we built these waste energy cranes in Perth, and over 5 years we ended up installing them, commissioning them, and supporting them. They're quite complex to commission. It's not just your standard commissioning process. There's a manual commissioning, which is getting the cranes to the state of a normal crane where you can actually control it via like a remote control. And then there's cold commissioning, which gets the crane to a state where you control it via these control chairs that look out over the cranes, and that would have semi-automated features such as anti-sway and target positioning. And eventually you do what's called hot commissioning, which we finalized this year, which means that the cranes work fully automated. And these cranes are massive, and they're like 30-meter span, and they move like at 100 meters a minute on the travel, which is like 5 times faster than a normal crane. And the hoists can travel at speeds of up to 90 meters a minute, when you're talking like 5 meters a minute for a standard CXT. It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
That is very impressive. With the cranes being fully automated, that means that the cranes are moving 24/7, correct?
Yeah. So these cranes are running non-stop, 24/7. There's 2 cranes on the runway. Mm-hmm. They work in tandem together. They know when waste comes into the bunker. They clear where the waste comes in. They feed the hoppers. They mix the waste to make sure that it's the right burning content. It's pretty impressive to watch, man. It's scary, nice. The way how fast these things move.
Wow.
It's
if I was a customer and I didn't know much about Tech Talk, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned sway control being one of our features here at Konecranes. Can you kind of break it down and explain to the average person what sway control does?
Yeah, sure. So like sway control is so these waste energy cranes, they don't have hooks. They have what's called grabs. So it's kind of like those machines that you see in arcades where the claw comes down and grabs the teddy and throws it into a hopper.
Yeah,
that's basically what these cranes are. So like the sway control eliminates any sway of that grab. So these cranes, even though they're traveling 100 meters a minute, this grab is never swaying around the place when the cranes change direction. What happens is that the momentum and the pendulum length of the grab is all factored into the Konecranes inverters that drive all the motors. And this grab, you could drive it at full speed and stop it, and the grab will not sway. But what will happen is the trolley and the bridge above it, they will move around to compensate the this sway. So the grab stays still, but the crane is moving around up on the runway to counteract any sway or pendulum effect. It's quite interesting. Nice. It's impressive to see, I must say.
Yeah, definitely. What'd you say, Tanya?
Yeah, pretty smart. And I think that's what it's called, right? These are the smart features that we're
Features.
offering our customers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But
Konecranes has like crazy
yeah,
smart features.
Mhm.
okay, right. Yeah. How, like when I mean, you mentioned earlier that the cranes are operating 24/7. What challenges does that bring when you want to service the crane or maintain it?
Yeah, so we're just going through the finalizing the service contract, but we have carried out a few ad hoc services so far. So uh, these cranes, obviously, because they're getting utilized at such a high duty class, which is like M8, which is like the highest you can get. There's daily checks, there's weekly checks, monthly checks, 3 monthly checks, yearly checks. The dailies and the weeklies normally get carried out by the operators. That would involve lubricating the grabs, inspecting the ropes, just visuals. We would go there once a month to do a standard inspection, a visual of all wearing components. And then every 3 months, it gets a bit more detailed. With these cranes, we would even be reviewing remotely the fault histories and giving the customer the advice of like what to be looking at, how to use the cranes maybe more efficiently and to keep them in better condition. Yeah, we'd go to yearly services where we'd be doing component measures, oil changes. Yeah, it's pretty in depth. Yeah.
That's nice to know. Yeah, it really is. If I was a client looking for answers or, looking to see what type of maintenance Konecranes would offer, that's good information there.
Yeah.
But also you touched on it, right? That you can really kind of see the condition of it, like True Connect coming into it as well, where you can really assess the condition of individual components. I'm sure that plays a major role with these cranes as well.
Yeah. So the remote connection we have for these type of cranes can show you exactly where the cranes are, what position, what their function is doing. You like the diagnostics, the real-time monitoring of all the components is it's quite in depth. I'll often provide remote assistance to the customer, and I can direct them exactly where to look and what the problem is. And we normally get them up and running pretty fast. Yeah. So luckily, in a situation like this, you always have two cranes. One crane can take the load of both cranes. But normally the two cranes will work in unison, and then when you need to do work on one crane, it gets parked up in a service position, and at the end of the runway, and then you can access the crane and do what you need to do.
Yeah. We're talking about servicing the cranes quickly, getting it up and running fast. How important is teamwork in this type of situation?
Yeah, teamwork is very important. You have to have good team members who know exactly what the tasks are at hand. So so there's quite complicated procedures to access these cranes and so before you go up on these cranes, you're having your little get together. You're going through your risk assessments, all your safety factors. And then you're going through all your tasks and making sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on, and that everybody's aware. And it's good to have a good team for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. But you also just mentioned safety here, and that you have your risk assessments beforehand. Safety is a core value at Konecranes, and I just wondered if you can go a little bit more in detail of how you ensure safety for yourself and for your team members around you.
Yeah, for sure. So each technician would do their power at the start of every job, and we would kind of go over and above the power in a situation like this because of the complexity of accessing the cranes, where we would do a team-based risk assessment where we would highlight all our risks, our hazards, and what controls we're going to use to control these hazards and eliminate these hazards. So like safety is paramount, so everybody needs to be on board with that. And yeah, and the job only commences once everybody's happy with that, and everybody's sure that they're going to be safe doing their work, and that they know exactly what they're doing. So yeah, it's good. We're given a lot of time to do that. There's no rush to do something like that. It's as important, or it's the most important part of any job. So yeah, you need to take a bit of time and go through that, and yeah, that's what we do.
I agree. It's the most important. Let's talk about training. You mentioned that you are traveling to Indonesia next week.
Yeah. So I'm going to Indonesia to do some training on EX equipment, which is for explosive atmospheres, normally in oil and gas. We do a bit of work in Western Australia on in gas plants, and we work on EX equipment. And Konecranes have got some new EX equipment that they're bringing out, so it's product training. There's a new EX chain hoist. So it'll be interesting to get some training on that. It's interesting in the oil and gas industry. A lot of this accessing of the cranes as well is done by rope access. So you would normally have to be abseiling down ropes to get to the crane and to get on and off the crane. So we do a lot of training. In Perth and in Western Australia and in Australia in general. Konecranes have always been the best at delivering trainings. It's interesting to get to go on these training trips.
That sounds fantastic, actually. I mean, you started 15 years ago in Konecranes, but can you still remember how your onboarding process was at the time?
Yeah. So when I started, I was lucky enough that we had a couple of master technicians in our branch who were like very patient with training us new guys up at the time. It was like I don't know if you've heard of the buddy system.
Yeah.
Where you kind of get put with a person who's got a lot of experience. It's changed a lot over the years. Like these days, it's you have a new technician has a logbook, and they have to complete certain tasks before they do it themselves, and they have to complete that task multiple times and then sign off the logbook. And only once they're confident do we let people go out and work on this type of equipment. But we have a lot of training with Konecranes for when we onboard people. So there's no other company does it like we do. It's one thing we recommend to anybody looking to venture into a new area from their trade or electrical trade or mechanical is come to Konecranes, and you will give you all the training you need, and I'm sure they'll enjoy it too.
Excellent. But what kind of skills should people have, like who would want to venture in a role like this as well, like to start with?
Look, motor control is always a bonus. We deal, everything we deal with is kind of based on motors and motors turning. But saying that, it's not essential either. You can still come in and learn it as you go. The other thing is like cranes, like we're mostly electricians in Western Australia, but cranes are heavily mechanical. So you need to have a good aptitude for doing mechanical work and getting your hands dirty. It's not always the cleanest job. Cranes are dusty, they're greasy, they're dirty. A lot of electricians don't like to get too dirty. So so to have a good mechanical mind and have an aptitude for also fault finding is because there's a lot of fault finding.
Okay, but I bet that can also be very rewarding when you actually do find it.
Yeah, for sure. It's the worst thing in the world when you can't find it, and as soon as you find it, it's a great feeling. Yeah, and then normally once you find it, you never make that mistake again. So
I bet. With 15 years of experience, I'm sure you've seen a lot. Like you said, you've gone through a lot. You've done multiple different type of trainings. What type of advice would you give a new technician looking to get their hands dirty in this industry?
Yeah, I would say don't be, too nervous to kind of to make the leap and get into it, because there's a lot of time and patience are spent on new starters to get them where they need to go. So yeah, I would say, just come on board, experience it for yourself, be part of the team, and yeah, I think it's very rewarding. So yeah, come join us.
I don't have many more questions, but just one.
Yeah.
If you could just pick one thing, what would it be that you love most about your job?
It's hard to pick just one thing. I love, basically, we've got a really good team in Western Australia and in Australia in general. Yeah, just being part of a team like that is it's extremely rewarding. Yeah, but also like being in different locations all the time and constantly kind of learning new things. There's lots of things. I don't know if it's just one thing, but yeah, the teamwork, the variation in the work, it's a very rewarding job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
Nice.
great.
Yeah. You've traveled to a lot of places. Who has the best food?
Malaysia was pretty good. I liked it. It was very varied. It's quite a mixed culture over there. And when I visited, the Konecranes team there were very good to me. They used to take me out for lunch every day. We were working long days, so it was nice to get that break in the middle. And yeah, the food was quite varied. So I'm back there at the end of the year, so I'm looking forward to trying some more of that food.
Good. Alex, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you spending your time with us and giving us the tech talk. All of the information that you have it's really great.
No worries.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Well, all right. Next time, we'll continue to dive more into our technicians' perspective on working with the latest technologies and tools, while also discussing what makes being a tech at Konecranes exciting. Be sure to visit Konecranes.com, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.